What's going on, guys? Rob from Heroes Avenue. What a year 2018 has been. We've been incredibly spoiled by the amount of superhero movies that came out this year. And the crazy thing is, there are more superhero movies coming out in 2019 than there were in 2018. Before we talk about all of that, we got to reflect on the year that was 2018 and talk about our personal favorites, top 5 style. And like all of our top 5 videos on this channel, we like to add a little bit of a challenge into it and see if we can talk about this list within 3 minutes. Before we get to all that though, I do want to mention that these are our personal favorite, or my personal favorite superhero movies, and my list is probably not going to match yours, so drop your list down in the comment section below and we'll definitely talk about some of them in our next video, especially if you give us some rationale to why you ordered the list the way you did. Also, I should say that there are going to be movies that you liked that are not on this list and that I liked that are not on this list. They just didn't make the cut for me, and I want to talk about those movies before I get into our top 5 in 3 minutes. So first movie I want to talk about is Deadpool 2. I really enjoyed this movie. I saw it a total of 3 times in the theaters, if you count Once Upon a Deadpool, the PG-13 cut. Watching Once Upon a Deadpool was absolutely unnecessary for me. All the Fred Savage jokes did not work. They didn't land for me. They were a little corny and cheesy, but hey, I still enjoyed the original Deadpool 2 cut for what it was, but not as good as the first one, so it didn't make my list. And the next movie that I want to talk about that didn't make this list was one of the biggest surprise hits of 2018, Venom. This movie I expected to like a lot more because Tom Hardy's one of my favorite actors. I did enjoy it, and I definitely love the fact that it was based in the Bay Area where I'm from. They definitely paid homage to the Bay Area within that movie. But this movie, you know, it felt like a lot of people talk about how it felt like it was a movie out of the early 2000s, and I get that type of criticism, but I still enjoyed it. It didn't land for me as much as it probably would have landed if there was a Spider-Man in it, but maybe it's because I'm not as familiar with the character of Venom as some other people are, but I did enjoy it for what it was. It was definitely a great popcorn flick, just didn't make my top 5. Next up is Incredibles. Incredibles is a superhero movie, animated superhero movie. Animated movies don't usually make my top 5 list, but that's what makes the one on this list a little bit more significant when I talk about it in just a second. But Incredibles, I absolutely love this movie. It took me a long time. I didn't watch Incredibles 1 actually until last year, and I was like, man, what was I waiting for? When this movie came out, I didn't have to wait a long time like most of you did for The Incredibles 2, but I actually really loved it. I thought it was actually better than Incredibles 1, and that's usually hard to do with sequels. So I really enjoyed this movie, just didn't make my top 5. Last movie that did make my top 5 is Teen Titans Go, and that's because I didn't watch this movie. Okay, with that, it's time to start our top 5 in 3 minutes video. Okay, got my timer all set up, ready to go, and on the bell, we will start our countdown. This one's gonna be hard. Okay, number 5 on the list is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Ant-Man and the Wasp is a movie that I had so much fun with, and I think these days the word fun gets a really bad rap because that's exactly the feeling I felt while watching this movie. Paul Rudd's comedy is right up my alley. I think we could all use a little bit more Evangeline Lilly in our lives. Michael Douglas is always amazing, and it was great to see Michelle Pfeiffer back in a superhero role. This movie had great heart to it with the dynamic between father and daughter and long lost lovers between Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas, and I love how it didn't revolve around a world-ending scenario, and I love that it does have ramifications in the whole MCU with the Quantumverse thing. So that's number 5. Number 4, people are gonna get mad that this movie is not higher on the list, but number 4 for me is Avengers Infinity War. Absolutely love this movie. The Russo brothers had a tremendous task and weight on their shoulders to bring all these plot lines and characters together and actually make it work. There was a ton of fan service in this movie, and I think fan service is sometimes a good thing because it absolutely works for me. The action was incredible, the dialogue, there was a lot of heart, there was heartfelt moments, there were tear-jerking moments, and this movie created one of the most badass villains of all time in Thanos. Josh Brolin killed it. It's the year of Josh Brolin, guys. So number 4, that's number 4. Number 3 is Into the Spider-Verse. This was my biggest surprise of 2018. I usually don't love animated movies like I did this movie. This movie absolutely floored me. I did not know a lot about Miles Morales. I knew that there was a plot line in the comics that brought together all these different universes in Spider-Man, but I didn't think that this movie could work that well. I won early screening tickets at a comic book shop to watch it a week early, which was definitely a plus. Got to watch it before everyone, but this movie is absolutely amazing, so heartfelt. The story is so well told, and there's lots of nods to past Spider-Man movies. My favorite Spider-Man movie for sure. Number 2 on my list, Black Panther. Black Panther is a character I didn't know a lot about as well. I did start reading some Black Panther comics after the movie came out. This movie had an amazing soundtrack. It had an amazing villain. T'Challa's journey, something that had so much urgency that you actually felt it sitting in your seat. Black Panther was absolutely amazing. And number 1 on my list, it's gonna be a surprise to a lot of people, Aquaman. Aquaman is a character, again, I've said it before, I've been wanting people to change their perception on him because he is an absolute badass in the comics. He's no joke, and Jason Momoa played it like he was no joke. No, there were times in the movie that kind of didn't work, but I think James Wan absolutely nails it. He made the movie what it had to be to do well for people, for critics, and for people alike. And I'm really excited for what the future holds for this character. It was a visual treat. Action was incredible, definitely groundbreaking stuff visually. And I can't wait to see what they bring in the future for these DC movies and how it changes the world of the DC going forward. And that's it, guys. I did it. 3 minutes, that's my top 5. Let me know what your guys' top 5 movies, superhero movies of 2018 are in the comments below. Before I leave this, I do want to address Darren. So Darren's at work, but I do want to mention his top 5. Starting for number 5 is Ant-Man and the Wasp, just like mine. Number 4 is Black Panther for him. Number 3 is Aquaman. Number 2 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and number 1 is Infinity War for him. Now, I like Darren's list a lot. I could totally see why he would rank it in this order. I can definitely make arguments for this list right here. But again, like I said, everyone's list is gonna differ just a little bit, so I wanna see your guys' list in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Please like this video if you can, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.